Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. VCT Stage 2 Challengers Week 1. Doug on the mic with my main man, Lex. Lex,
what up, Doug?
Baby, it's been a while, and I missed you. I did.
It's been several weeks since I've been able to join you back on the desk, but here we are, and closing out the day strong, man. Should be a good matchup.
It is going to be a good matchup. Very quickly, I want to get your thoughts on the last match that we just saw here. It was a good one. You know, version 1, they looked really good up against Envy. And, you know, I'll be honest, I said it on Twitter. A lot of people sleeping on version 1, but there were a couple of things that really impressed me out of them in their matchup against Envy.
I mean, even just taking, I think it was Split against Envy, you know, that's something where traditionally you'd look at Envy as being a dominant force on that map. You know, if you're going to show up and send a message that week after week you're improving, you know, I think version 1 has done that, to say the least, and it was an exciting matchup for sure.
It was, and then of course we'd be remiss if we didn't mention at the end of the day, like, Envy just continues to prove that they belong in the conversation for the best, right? Like, how can you, I was thinking about this earlier today, how can you quantify the value that Victor has on I'm going to go off on a tangent. I can feel myself going off on it. Let's turn our attention to the matters at hand, and that is Anbox going up against Immortals, and it's going to be a good one. I think there were a lot of surprises, really, for both of these teams finding themselves down here early on. But Lex, I'd love your thoughts on this matchup, on how they got here. Was it expected? What do you think?
I think in terms of expected, I don't necessarily know that I put Cloud9 Blue over Immortals in the matchup that started off the day, and certainly I think a lot of people who have seen Immortals' recent form, especially with the roster changes that they've made, you know, they've found success, and they're one of those teams where, regardless of who you're putting on what agent, they seem to be able to produce results. And, you know, despite shaking up the roster and changing out the agents that some of the players are playing, they still, even in a loss, are looking like an incredible roster that is delivering. And Anbox, you know, kind of going through the same motion.
Yeah, you know, we're going to take a look at the Anbox roster here in just a moment, as there are a couple of things that have changed. We'll talk through them. But again, for this roster, up against 100 Thieves earlier today, it was less than ideal of a performance. 7-13 on Ascent, 9-13 on Bind. But as you see there, this Anbox squad, they've gone through a couple of roster changes. As you see, Vice is here, Ahmad is here. But, like, man, this Anbox roster, I've always thought that they're really good. They're a couple of roster changes away from being elite. And Lex, this might be it for them.
I think that's kind of the story that both of these rosters are looking towards, where,
yeah,
you know, they've kind of been that team that has, you know, been willing to switch out players, or at least been kind of circumstantially been in that situation where they need to fill spots. And they've done so pretty darn well. The question will be, as you're kind of alluding to, Doug, is, you know, 2 or 3 months from now, is the roster going to be the same, number one? And then number two, are they going to be a top team in North America, you know, bordering in that tier 1, top 5 region where, you know, anybody can potentially be winning a tournament? And you know, for Anbox, this certainly is going to be a tall test, but you'd think, at least in the challengers, this is where they would want to do it, right?
And I mean, that's probably one of the most exciting things about North American Valorant right now, is any dog can have their day, right? Like, anybody can be caught slipping, anyone can catch fire, and no team is safe. Let's take a look at the Immortals roster. Another team that, as we mentioned, has a history, really, of building a roster, changing the roster, adding these insanely cracked out players, and still replicating it at a very high level when it comes to success.
Yeah, I mean, from the addition of Chemicals and Nature, I think it was several months ago now, the Immortals roster was going through seemingly like a different lineup every other weekend when we'd see them play. But, you know, Gangston, JC Stanny, long-standing members of the roster, the addition of Shot Up, all of these things, kind of, regardless who you're slotting in those 4th and 5th spots, Immortals has been at the top of North America, or at least borderline, you know, competitive in that sense. So, you know, this is definitely a roster where I expect them to go deeper in this tournament, you know, even potentially past Anbox here.
And you know, I think the other thing to think about with Immortals is they've shown us that they can do that, right? Like, how many times have we seen them? They win a closed event, or they win a challengers event. They get to the big show, right? Like, they get to Masters, they get to First Strike, and then something kind of happens, and they don't quite deliver. So maybe this is the right combination, right? Like, maybe this is just the exact cocktail that they need to deliver. Yeah, but you've got to get past Andbox here, right? And we talked about this team, about the Sandbox squad. That's not always an easy thing to do.
No, I think Andbox throughout their different stages and evolutions, like, they've never been, I don't think, in the discussions of being, you know, potentially one of the best teams in North America, but for a team that is steadily improving from event to event as we've watched them progress, you know, I would never write them out of a series, despite the fact that I would almost always, at least in, you know, the matchups that we have potentially going on for the rest of the weekend, as underdogs. I still think that they're not going to be pushovers for anybody, and you know, this will be the test right here against Immortals.
Yeah, and what a great test, right? With the new roster, can you deliver against a squad that, as we mentioned, has the propensity for placing in the top 5 in North America across the board? Now, Lex, let's talk about the players individually, right? And I know we're going to highlight a couple of folks, but when you think about both of these squads, and let's start with Immortals, right?
Okay.
If there's somebody that you look at that roster and you go, that's who we need to watch, that's somebody who can literally take over the game and make a drastic impact for the roster, who is that?
I think, you know, at least in terms of present form, would be JC Stanny, especially with his kind of move over to being the team's jet on several maps, also playing some of the Astra role that we've already seen here today. And I gotta hand it to him. The guy's played so many different roles on this team so far, and never really been a quiet teammate, never been a quiet player when it comes to the fragging power and his ability to perform on different styles of play. I would give it to him as far as the, you know, X factor, or somebody that you look at to, you know, be looking at in this series coming up.
Hey, I mean, we even saw in that first map against Cloud9 Blue, I think he went like 35,000 and 0 or something insane like that. He was just cracked out of his mind. And I think I agree with you when we think about Immortals as a roster and who it is that really needs to step up and deliver. I've got to agree with you. My eyes are on JC Stanny. And then on the side of Andbox, I think if we're to ask a similar question, my eyes are on Mata, right? The guy consistently can like perform, and he can deliver, and we've seen him do it across a couple of different rosters on the Rays. You see some of the stats there. It's going to be a really freaking good matchup. But I think the big takeaway for me here from Mata is his first bloods, right? Like how frequently he's the tip of the spear. He's getting initial entry frags that open up the map for his team, and obviously with that often comes a lot of first deaths because you're putting yourself in a precarious situation. But I really think if he can get that going and get away with his life, there's so much value to that. There's so much advantage.
Right. And I think, you know, kind of going back on the other side where looking at JC Stanny, both of these players, you know, kind of like I was kind of getting at, maybe a little bit shifting roles on the side of JC Stanny, playing the different agents. You know, you've got different opportunities to make plays for your teams, but Mata, the fact is, guys performing, playing the duelist roles, can't ask for more from a duelist, and I think he's going to step up here today.
He's going to have to up against a very good Immortal squad. Let's take a look at maps. We have them in. We know what's off the table, and we know what's on the table. As you see here on your screen, the 3 maps that we're going to be duking it out on are going to be first Split, Ascent, and then if needed, Bind. Now, Lex, as the analyst, I get to ask you this question, but you don't get to ask it. You don't get to ask me that, which is very safe in this instance. Look at the maps, right? Take a look at the lineup that we have before us. What are your thoughts? Are you leaning a certain way? Is there something that stands out to you specifically that you go, Doug, this series may be decided on this specific map or anything like that?
I think having just seen both of these teams play on Ascent this morning, I would say that is the decider map for the entire series, where you know, could be looking at an 0-2 for Andbox if Immortals comes out here to play. But I think we're talking about both of the map pools for these teams, especially when we're kind of, you know, adding on, or at least putting an asterisk on the fact that some of these agents are being swapped around among players. The roles are switching. The strategy may be affected in some ways by that. I think that's gonna, just looking at how deep the Immortals map pool can be, it's gonna be a really tough task for Andbox considering everything that we've just laid out in front of you.
It very well may be. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because I've nerded out about this a lot, and I know you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. You got to give me your thoughts on Astra. We are pulling into Agent Select, so we'll pop over onto that. But Lex, give me your thoughts on Astra. What do you think she brings to the table? Is she as high of value as some teams are making her out to be, or is it honestly like a little undersold, just how good she is?
Man, this is what's so cool about getting to cast and being an analyst in an event like this, where you kind of can get the very most fresh takes when it comes to whether or not your your little theory crafts even bear any fruit. Like this Immortals roster, I think we've seen Rossi and JC Stanley both playing on Astra here today. I love her, first of all, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that she's got a pretty sweet space galaxy theme going on, and I'm a fan of that. But she kind of can fill both the controller and sentinel roles in some ways when we're talking about her defensively, at least, and in post plants. And I just love her ability to kind of, I don't even want to say kind of here, but absolutely dominate the utility game by herself. Okay. Whether or not she's going to be as powerful as we all have heard or are making her out to be right now, even as like a solo controller, which is what Immortals has done with her, I just think that is like, the time will tell, Doug. I'm not going to sit here and say that my analysis of Astra is going to be anything less than, what we're bound to see here in this series, because it's going to deliver. And sure as heck, I imagine Immortals has been spending a lot of time, changing their composition to make this work.
And Lex, we really could probably podcast about this. I love what Astra brings to the table. I think she has the potential to really change the way the game is played, to be honest with you. And I would argue for the better, but that's a different matter entirely. We do see JC Stanley has locked in the Astra. We saw it against Cloud9. We're going to get it here, and we're just around the corner from getting this bad boy started. Again, Immortals and Box going to tee things off on Split. Andbox is going to start on the attacking side, while Immortals is going to test their mettle as they try to keep Andbox back and get in a bit of a decent advantage on the defensive side. Again, we mentioned that Immortals played against Cloud9 on this map just a bit ago. It was close on the defensive side for Immortals. It was 6-5, and I mean the map ended in favor of Cloud9 Blue, but that was far more successful than what we saw on the opposite side of the map.
For sure. And I think talking about Andbox and their ability to find success here on the attack side of Split, really this pistol round is where it needs to start, Doug. And already we're pressing towards B main. There's a little bit of A presence over the other side of the map as Seb is.
Oh, I love the discipline from Chemicals. He just waits. The wall goes up. They're going to get entry onto the site. You're going to see the remaining members of Immortals rotate over while Andbox has already lost to it and make that one as the health bars getting so dangerously low. Rossi's another one with only 45 health left. Dancing around, a great flash. Things are tied up here, and the spike isn't down yet. They might pull off here, Lex.
Wow, Rossi has bought just enough time, shot up and gangsta over here in B Heaven. And there's the nade coming in. Paint shells forcing off Ye, and it's even going to net the frag here for Immortals. Shot up, collecting that one cleanly. And as I was saying, there's a lot of pressure to put that spike down, but nevertheless, Mata has backed off, regrouped, elected to perhaps move back towards mid, maybe move towards A. Using what time he has left on his clock to put this 1v2 into at least a winning chance. Walking up now towards mailroom into B Heaven.
I like this. I like the repositioning. He had plenty of time to make something work, but now he's in a 1v1. His position has been given away. He has no idea, but Gangsta's certainly worse for wear. What a play to kick off the series out of Mata. A huge 3K in a 1v2 and get some money down from the spike. What more could you ask for if you're an Andbox fan?
The man is hitting some shots. That's going to make him feel good, Doug. And I was just saying moments ago that if you're Andbox, right, like this is not a map where you want to let Immortals gain some momentum. You don't want to let them feel good stack a difference early on. And of course, we're going to go into a Bucky buy immediately off the back of that. But nevertheless, a great start here for Anbox. Mata collecting things cleanly with a 3-frag round for him. And that was absolute chaos over there on B for just a few moments there as Anbox once again collecting B main control, spreading the map a little bit. And I think they were going to delay that B push some, but I believe it was Seb over there towards sewers near A. Got an audio cue early on that Immortals was pushing through A main, and so that B push came in very quickly, and even the wall was a little bit off center. Perhaps got a few players killed that needn't have, but this angle here from Rossi, Bucky is so dangerous so often.
I think the one thing to keep in mind is, again, you highlighted the Bucky and how devastating it can be. Be interesting to see how Anbox choose to play this out. That's a cue.
Ooh.
Right there. Rossi's been given away, and he sits on it anyway. Mata swings out, gets the best of him with the Spectre. The wall's going to go up, and they're going to get onto the site with relative ease.
1 HP on Mata. He lives and gets a Sage heal immediately. Spike goes down, and now the retake is on for Immortals. Just
now
Bucky's in hand, Doug.
Lex, Immortals are very good at retaking this site. We saw it in the previous series. Now, remember, they don't have the gun advantage. They're also not playing on even footing. So it's much easier said than done. But they have shown proficiency in taking this site back. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case this time around.
Right. I was actually just wondering. I was like, oh, man, with only Bucky's in hand, perhaps Immortals just tries to go for exits here. And they're, timidly coming into B main here from Defender spawn. Not actually, well, there's one. Thought up finds one in Amada, but not quite getting the opportunities that they were hoping for, pushing in there from the Defender spawn. But 2-0 now for Anbox. The bonus is underway.
Great start out of Mata. We highlighted him at the beginning of the series, and he's delivering, making us look smarter. He's also got the showstopper here at the beginning of this round. We'll see if they opt to utilize that. Meanwhile, on the side of Immortals, they're in sniffing distance of a couple of ultimates, but not going to be bringing that into the fold this round.
Yeah, and spreading a default here for Anbox. Poised to get some B main control. There is perhaps maybe a contest going on over there, but immediately that jet does fall back towards the site. That's Chemicals getting the aid of Rossi over at B main and over here at A. Thanks to immediately dropping the barrier orb, denying any kind of early A aggression here from the Cypher of the Sage inside of Anbox, but just taking their time here, Doug, just working the map a little bit, seeing whether or not Immortals is going to play into an early, set piece of aggression. They're not going to, so for Anbox, just a matter of clearing your angles and trying to decide where your end game will come on the other side of the map. That's actually that B main fight that I was alluding to did end up occurring. Chemicals will fall. And Mata, who, again, like you had mentioned, making us look so smart, finds one, gets traded out by Rossi, and now it's 4's all.
Now, worth noting, Mata was the only one who had a rifle going into that round. It's been picked up by Vice, but we'll see how they choose to play this out. The other thing worth mentioning is we're going to see this at the beginning of the round a lot, where Gangsta's going to put the wall up into the entry to A on top of the Astra Star. When we see this dope little combination they have cooked up, we'll make sure to point it out. But for now, Anbox mulling over whether or not they want to move towards B. Rossi's waiting with open arms. So far, nothing committed. The paranoia is going to come out, but there's no dash. There's no blast pack. There's no quick way to get onto the site to follow up, and they're running out of time. JC Staney's up from the top rope. He gets one, gets traded out. Yay. So good. With the Spectre, good for 2. Boy's going to get the spike down just in the nick of time. And now, once again, Immortals find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to fight for the retake. Problematically, for the boys on the defending side, they're one-dimensional in their approach. They're only funneling in from the same side, and Anbox knows, right? Ye walks away with 3. Anbox gets a 3-round lead. A great round for them, and they've got money to blow.
Yeah, and for attack side split, this gets real scary as defenders. You allow attackers to build a bank and run away earlier on with this game. Collecting a bonus is cleanly, I believe, 3 players alive, right? So just being able to bank this much cash going into a 4th round here when you're probably, they're only going to have 1 Bucky on the side of Immortals, and that's on JC Stanley. So Sheriff's all for the rest seems like, and That was a really strange ending to that round. There was a lot of different opportunities, I think, for Immortals to blow up the play. You even had on Rossi a picture-perfect fault line to delay at B main. But that's unfortunate for Chemicals getting cleared out. Or shot up over at B main. That is going to be mostly at B stack, as there is still JC Stanny and Rossi able to full commit on the defensive side over here to this side of the map. So Nbox wisely just biding their time, sniffing out any additional information what they just got. No reason to move anywhere. You got a minute left on the clock. They're going to give you the opportunities. There it is, JC Stanny over peeking, overstaying is welcome. Gangsta with 2 nice taps of his own on a yay. That'll be the only frag that Immortals find on the round, as Mata cleans up with 3-4-0 for Nbox and Doug. Really, this is a convincing start here for Nbox, in my opinion.
Man, they look good, and the truth too, Lex, is in rounds like that, Immortals, I think you mentioned that they had a Bucky, and I think that was all they had. It's just so hard to get something going there. You watch members drop all over the map, but we'll see now they have rifles. Chemicals is going to have an op. What can they cook up?
Yeah, and I think this is where Immortals does kind of... This is their scary. You know, this is their form when you don't really know how confident you could be on the attack side. Gotta bide your time, maybe just wait, see what they give you. And you highlighted already, but Chemicals having this operator in hand. Plenty of opportunity on a split to go and find a early man advantage with that weapon in hand.
Well, you see, like they're playing around the wall, around the oplex. They didn't put the wall up. Gangsta didn't, because they wanted to give them entry into A. Where that is, they are going to put the wall up on the other side. The paranoia is going to come out. Mata goes in with the showstopper spots too, not able to land even one. Meanwhile, Gangsta does clean him up. Numbers advantage in favor of Immortals. Don't think we've been able to say that the entire map up until this moment. The spike goes down. Yeah, he's just so low. He's going to drop. Excuse me, he's not going to drop. Vice is not going to have the Rolling Thunder online for the rest of the round. Again, Immortals in a spot where they can retake B. That's certainly going to help.
Caught up as a showstopper as well. Here it comes.
Oh, that one lands. Far more bang for buck this time around. Meanwhile, Ye trades it out. Shot up. Trying to go up over the wall. Waits for it to break, and it comes out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, shot up. Are you kidding me? What an answer from Immortals.
You know, for a moment there, they backed up into B heaven, and it seemed as though there was the potential that they were going to elect to save. The res comes through instead. The showstopper gets popped and shot up with 4 frags on the retake. That is huge. You mentioned it. A little bit of an overzealous showstopper of his own from Mata into the B site. Gangsta gets a free one onto him, but this retake just is so strong from Immortals. Wow. Impressive stuff here from him. And actually, as I say that, I don't think he recovered the operator, Doug. Nevertheless, Chemicals does still have one in hand, so never mind. Doesn't matter.
Dude, he did that with 13 health, Lex.
That's
Those
insane,
last 2
dude.
kills are 13 health.
First round on the board.
All right, there's that wall, right? There's that wall that we've talked about. It's going to get broken out, but this time Chemicals is still there with the op. He also has a Blade Storm. Also, keep an eye on the Cosmic Divide out of JC Stanny. We haven't seen it in this series, and the effects that it can have on a map can be almost indescribable.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about these retake scenarios. Not a lot of opportunity to see some Astra flex here, but still early moments in the round as Nbox is regrouping back towards A main. And if you check your minimap here just for a moment, the rotations are moving over towards B for Immortals because, as you mentioned in the round prior, Doug, Chemicals is being relied on over here to be the sole defender with the operator, to call the rotates, to make sure that there's not an overextension early on. And while you may view that as a weakness to some degree, it really depends on how he handles it, and he's handling it beautifully. Mata falls.
No.
Oh, man, that is jet for you. An operator in hand.
And that's going to pull out the rest to equalize things. But if you're Chemicals, you got to be feeling pretty dang good about the shot you just landed. The Rolling Thunder coming out of ice, going to clear things out. Going to be traded out as well. Both Rolling Thunders being used. Vice and the rest of Nbox are going to work their way onto the site. The spike has been planted, and there's a Cosmic Divide as well. How do they choose to play around this?
So interesting. And so tense here for Ye, knowing the defuse just came through, but there's just There's nothing to be done at that point. Immortals just neatly wraps up that round with a Cosmic Divide, a push into sight, trading the kills out, and a well done from Immortals to seal that one up. You know, and as we were talking about the Chemicals situation, it was a beautiful display as why they leave him on that side of the map. But really, I think, like, you invested a few ultimates into that round, a Rolling Thunder from Rossi, the Cosmic Divide coming out from JC Stanny. And I think only one player was hit by the Rolling Thunder. It really was still looking like a very strong Andbox post plant, but Immortals just absolutely eviscerating them on the retake. Well done. 4-2 now. Not looking nearly as in hand for Andbox as the first 4 rounds led us to believe.
No, by no means. And I think this has been an excellent response from Immortals. But I do want to watch. So they've all stacked up.
Ooh.
Around a Vice, the one exception, and he's not around any longer. They actually boost up over the wall. I was curious to see if they'd wait it out or go over it. They opt to go over it. Ye makes his way up into heaven, is good for one. He's going to get a chance at a second one. Shot up just around the corner, tagged him up. He's going to back off while the spike goes down.
There's double players here on the heaven balcony. But Rossi says, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. Yay, he sprang through our cover. Finding his third of the round of the shot up, and now JC Stanny and Chemicals left alone, 2v3. Pressing into this post plan over here on the A site. Boy alone with supporting teammates from Heaven and Hell, respectively. JC Stanny with his third. Boy and Seb both answers back. And Andbox, look at their 5th, Doug. A decisive round at that. You know, there was a few opportunities there, I think, for that retake to actually, you know, come about for Immortals, but really this play from Ye just silencing the opposition coming in from Heaven. And there's an excellent read there. The wall over, man, that is, they've noticed a few times that Gangsta is dropping that barrier orb and electing to early rotate and leave that side of the map, you know, just kind of unmonitored. And immediately they say, okay, we're just going over this thing. We're going to take A, and it works.
And Lex, you think about it as someone who's IGL'd before, you have to respect that now, right? Like, you can't afford to put up the wall and then leave because, you know, they can just as easily wait until you're gone and then boost over like they just did.
Yeah, it's ultimately a test. Oh, there it is. You see Stanny swinging wide, using that Astra utility to force his opponents into some favorable angles. Finds one. But yeah, I mean, that is so interesting to me. That's kind of like the little mind games that teams can have throughout the game. There's no doubt in my mind, as you're kind of alluding to, Doug, that Gangsta's going to think twice before dropping the barrier orb and rotating early. But you know, that wall only able to deter so much without giving away some sound cues. Certainly 4 players with a barrier orb of their own to boost over is terrifying for an unwitting defender. There's Mata leading the entry up into Heaven.
Yeah, no flash coming out there. Vice good with 1. Good 4-1 with the Frenzy. Numbers advantage in favor of Andbox still.
30 seconds
JC
left.
Stanny, oh man, I thought he landed another one. It was actually Chemicals who did it, but it doesn't matter. The damage was done. Chemicals gets another one, and what looked so good for Andbox has gone absolutely sideways. Now Seb is left alone in a 1v3. I want to keep this on him. He has the ult as well, but he's just running out of time. 1, 2.
10 seconds left.
Seb in a 1v1. Doesn't have the health advantage. And Chemicals just has to, like, just run away from him, right? Like, he doesn't have the spike. He doesn't have time. What a response from Chemicals. Beautifully played, Lex.
Wow. And that is a thrifty and a half coming out from Immortals. Only investing some sheriffs into that round, and they pay off in dividends. I wonder, throughout the rest of this game, Nope is going to elect to buy another Vandal. Boy, surely you learned your lesson. That last, oh my god. Oh. Oh. Tough. With clock ticking here, Seb had little choice, had to kind of press in here, and there's just no shot. 29 HP. Chemicals has the jump, knows the read, knows the angle you're coming from. There it is. Early beam main pressure being applied from Immortals, but Andbox is so willing to just walk through this. No sweat.
I mean,
look at this read right here. 4 players from Andbox ready to go here, Doug.
All right, here we go. Showstopper out for Mata. The paranoia was there as well, and the wall's gone up. So once again, they're going to find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to fight for the retake. Rossi, good for 2. Ye trades him out. The res is going to come up as well. But the thing is, Immortals are so low, right? They only have 2 members left.
Spike planted.
Yeah, this is just not panning out for Immortals. You know what? There's been a few different moments, and we've highlighted each one, Doug, and I would describe it as this. Immortals is being so confident that their game plan is going to work, and I mean that purely based on just confidence in, you know, the mind games that they're rolling out for Andbox, and Andbox is calling their bluff with each and every play. Okay, you're gonna throw a fault line and a smoke over here at B main. Yeah, we don't believe you. We're gonna walk through this, and there's no defenders on site, just 2 players in heaven. You know, Immortals is very willing to rely on this utility to grant them the map control that they basically start with, and instead, Andbox just being one step ahead at all times.
And, you know, we're seeing a pause here as both teams kind of mull things over. I think the other thing worth mentioning, Lex, to kind of pile on to what you were saying is, like, you know, we highlighted it, I think it was round 1 or round 2. Immortals, their MO is we're gonna play to retake a B, right? Like, we're fine, we're comfortable in that situation. And I think it's because of that Andbox goes, oh, you're gonna throw a smoke right at the door? That's fine. You're not there, right? Like, we know you're gonna be playing retake. We're not worried about that at all.
Like, it's actually really, it's working in favor, I think, of Andboxes. We've seen even just a few times where Immortals is able to secure first blood, get up in numbers, and time and again we've seen Sage just kind of be the difference maker, being able to throw a res out, being able to hold players off on the retake. And Andbox early on in this round, Doug, pressing at A main. They refuse to be denied.
Well,
Chemicals will fall. Vice pushes forward, and there's just classics, frenzies, Buckies, you know, standard makeshift thrifty buy here coming out from Immortals, and a few frags are going their way, and now they're in a 3-on-2. Look at what I said. We got a Rolling Thunder coming out as well. Rossi in a 1v1 against Mata, who's just underneath him, and he's gonna drop right on top of him for 4 in the clutch, Doug. Woo.
with the frenzy, bro. With the frenzy.
That's
500
fun.
credits, by the way. 500. That's absolutely insane. He played that so well. The Rolling Thunder was there, and it opened up the sight for him to be able to challenge in that 1v1. Rossi could not have played that better, Lex.
Oh, my goodness. My face hurts from smiling. That was ridiculous. And Rossi coming up huge. You know, sometimes you see breach utility just effectively get eaten up by, you know, smoke, start covers, whatever. You have a lot of different chances to mess up your timing, mess up your opportunity with some of his kit. We've already seen mostly a whiff Rolling Thunder in this game, but that one landed and found its mark early and spamming through a smoke. Speaking of, shot up, destroying the face of Mata over there at B main. And finally, you've seen that willingness to contest at B main. Well, you may be calling it Immortals' bluff time. Oh man, I almost said it.
You almost did.
I think I've already said it once here. B main pressure switches towards heaven pressure, and Andbox once again getting stuffed, Doug. This is a big difference from earlier in the game.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Lex. Numbers again is heavily in favor of Immortals here, and it seems to be going from bad to worse for Andbox's. Vice was good to trade one out, but that's all that's going to be left as Immortals gets to 5. And now, Lex, what are the adjustments, right? Like, what's Immortals doing that's different? What's working now that wasn't working before?
Well, I think kind of what you were talking about earlier with their you know, kind of willingness to make these plays, and we both discussed this different times now, but once you get comfortable on the defense and you're like, okay, well, they're willing to come through B main no matter what. They're willing to go over the barrier orb at A main. You have to set traps beyond those kind of plays, and right there, the late B main aggression, or should I say the late B main defense coming out from, I believe that was shot up. You know, getting that first blood. I think 2 or 3 times now that we've seen Immortals start off strong on a round, or at least not even right away, but finding the first frag seems to be making it so much easier for them to rotate accordingly. And there's 2, maybe 3 players over in B heaven just stuffing that mailroom advance, and that can make all the difference here. And so as far as adjustments, Doug, I think both teams are playing this kind of back and forth extremely well. It's just a matter of management here from Andbox to come up with the last round solution, as they have a broken buy.
Drop the spike.
Well, what I do like about Andbox here is they're showing us something different, right? Also worth noting, Vice, Boy both have ults, right? Yay and Gangster really on the other side are 1 point away from getting theirs. There's a Rolling Thunder. They're going to waltz their way in, and my gosh, JC Staney was there. He was waiting for it. The res is going to come up. Chemicals did use that Blade Storm again. Gangster just 1 point away from getting the res back, but Seb, good for another one. Chemicals with the Blade Storm. One. Oh my god, what? Second, third. Spike goes down, not able to get the fourth. Mata trades it out a 1v1 for the last round of the half. 22 seconds left. I like that. I like that. It was a fake. Mata's still waiting down low. Gangsta doesn't bite, and Gangsta brings the pain down from the top ropes to get the round win for Immortals to close at the half. And what a response, given how it started.
Yeah, and you could just check the scoreboard right there. Yay, clocking in 17 frags to start off with a Battle Sage on attack. You know, that kind of spells, at least through the first 6 rounds or so of this game, where I think it was like 4-2 at one point, and Box was looking very, very in position to, you know, I don't want to say necessarily carry the half, but putting up 6 rounds was almost an expectation at that point.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've drawn 6-all, not bad. Great adjustments from Immortals, and you know, I think they handled the game plan of Andbox quite well.
Did, and now we're going to see how things look on the other side as Immortals is going to take a crack at things on attack. You see them all stacked up towards A. It's going to be hot. It's going to be heavy. Very similar wall from what Gangsta was putting up. They're just going to push their way right through. Right? Ye's going to get back onto the site. Left alone here. Now the rotations are coming over, but can he buy enough time? He drops. Mata's here.
Down A.
Spike's been planted. They're starting to creep over. Excuse me, the spike goes down. Now it's been planted. Chemicals in a great spot to blow things up. Spots 1, spots 2, not able to land anything as far as kills go. And Shot Up is left alone, Lex. Certainly a great start. Last Pack's gonna push him off. He's just pure survival at this point. Trying to react to everything, but Mata's good for 3. The pistol round's gonna go in favor of Andbox, and it looks like they're picking up really how they started the first half of this match.
Yeah, I mean, being able to take a pistol, and I don't want to speak too soon, but potentially the eco round and the bonus to follow, you can easily put yourself in a situation here where, you know, tying the half as they did so previously, it almost becomes an expectation at that point, at the minimum. So I think they're, you know, for Immortals, pressing into A early on, dealing with the barrier orb, dealing with the delay that the rotations came in. They were burnt through most of their utility by the time that spike went down, so you know, even there at the end, you had an opportunity. Maybe Shot Up is able to get an additional frag, reset his pain shells, win a 1v3. It's just a lot to ask, and instead, Andbox here collecting the second pistol of the game. And so for Immortals, just looking for anything that they'll be able to be given in this round. Where there's a flash and dash. Chemicals won't get anything for it, but Shot Up will clean it up. Now Vice. A little bit of assistance from Boy and Ye, and that'll be the round. Andbox 8-6 now, Doug. And this is that bonus that we were just talking about.
Yeah, you said had Chemicals in his lap for a moment there as he just dashed right into him. But again, you mentioned how the Spectre really just proved to be too much for them to handle in that moment. So now that those last 2 rounds go, or that last round anyway, kind of goes as you'd expect. Now we're going to see what Immortals have, as they're going to be on rifles. They're going to be going up against the bonus that you mentioned from Andbox, and for now it looks like they're cheating towards B for a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that this is a bonus, you still want to, I mean, actually, as I said, I was about to have a plan or something that you could maybe yield some early results. And as I check the mini-map, there's Ye pressing through A main, finding an unsuspecting JC Stanny. Nice start. Immortals reacting immediately with a B push. Shot Up finds the first. Boy trades it out.
Still on the site, down to 70 health. He's going to drop. Seb has made his way around. What a great spot for Seb. He's good for 1. The spike goes down as things drop down to a 2v2. Both remaining players from Immortals are on the site. Looking like they're trying to set up a high-low stack back in that B corner.
There.
While Andbox, I mean, they have some options. I like the slow orb. You see the stack up, right? The slow orb on top of the raise nade can be so devastating. Doesn't quite land. The flash, I don't know that it did either. They swing out. Mod is good for one. Rossi trades it out at 1v1. Wow. Yay drops as Rossi answers the call again for Immortals as they're going to get the round win. Yes, it was Handbox's bonus, but if you're Immortals, that feels good, Lex.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about that was a round where you potentially, I don't want to say lose the game, but this is a very manageable attack half ahead of Immortals now, right? But that 2v2, had it gone the other way, you're looking at 9-6 and a huge bank of the defense. You know, when we're split specifically this map, you allow the defenders to run away with your economy, or vice versa, but it'd be so difficult to crack open sites. We're talking about a 400 credit barrier orb at the beginning of A main every round. That is not a small investment, but one that can have detrimental effects throughout the game. And you know, being able to deny that early income will definitely be a boon in the eyes of Immortal.
You were seeing like some of the mind games again, right? In the previous round, the wall goes up. They actually ride it in and push in aggressively. This time when the wall goes up, they kind of have to linger, right? Like to ensure that there's no more of that early aggression pushing their way through. Immortals has worked their way up the middle of the map. Great flash. Paranoia comes out too. Well, Seb's just looking for anything he can find. Finally gets one shot up. It's going to use the showstopper. Blast his way in and doesn't get a shot. As Boy's there on the side, hits him with the sucker punch. Rossi trades it out. A 1v2. Ye's left alone. He's got health. He's got a rifle. So he's got a chance at something here. This is certainly winnable for Ye. Is it out? Ye's been spotted. Drops down now. He does have that heal. Now you're seeing some of that Asher utility. And again, that high-low stack Lex can be so hard to deal with, as it doesn't look like Ye's able to handle it either. JC Stanley trades out the kill. We're tied up at 8 apiece.
Wow, man. Like that was the scrappiest fight that I've seen all day over there at Male and Be Heaven. Just so much utility going off. Even have a showstopper that just gets nothing. Frenzy frag in the middle of a tailwind. There was just a lot going on right there, and I am just so surprised that Immortals came away with the round win, despite the fact that, you know, at one point it looked like they were almost throwing away the round going up there into Be Heaven. Now you got a few sheriffs on the side of Bandbox, you've got a few Buckies, and as we were talking about in the first half, Doug, this is absolutely something where you want to be careful with. Take the appropriate precautions, and a flashpoint from Breach will certainly be the starting of that. They're able to trade it out, and Immortals just rapid fire, one frag after another. Well, as I say that, Modifines 2, but the B split does come through.
Yeah, you can. This one's a tough one. Seb's alone. He's got a Bucky, really, and I mean you go for it because there's really no reason not to at this point. But you imagine this round will likely go in favor of Immortals, as you kind of expect it to, given the weapons that they brought into this round. Seb just gets cleaned up. A nice 3K for Gangsta as Immortals take the lead. And like, you know, we take a look at some of the stats, and Lex, it's not like you've got one player who's just putting the team on his back, right? Like there's nobody that's popping off. It really is. It's not sexy. It's not flashy, but it's fundamental for Immortals, and it's working. It's gotten them this far.
Absolutely. I think, you know, even in so far as just like making a general team analysis, and this could be said about a lot of the top teams in this game right now, their efficiency trading, just being able to make sure that a teammate is there with you when you're making a play or you're being supported by utility, can make all the difference in the world when it comes to just being able to secure these rounds. And, you know, as a testament to how close this game is in the scoreboard, well, you know, that frag count is close for a reason. Seemingly every time that Immortals is pushed into a corner where, you know, perhaps this is going to be a situation or a round they might lose, you know, they're able to bounce back and push these 2v2s, these 3v3s down to the wire, and they're coming out on top more often than not. So into this 10th round now, a full buy for both teams, though we do have a stinger on chemicals. Blade Storm certainly active, but...
Right. I think the other thing to keep in mind here, if you're Immortals, you've got the Rolling Thunder, you've got the Cosmic Divide, you have tools at your disposal to get you onto the site. The problem is Handbox has plenty of those as well. They've got a Rolling Thunder of their own. They've got a Res from the shadows. There are so many different options here. This could prove to be a very electric round. Immortals, with 30 seconds left, have now made their way over towards A. There's that cosmic divide that we were talking about. Flash comes out. It's a decent spot. The from the shadows is going to come out as well. Seb on the site. Chemicals with the Blade Storm. Good for one. Seb not able to anchor anything down either. A 3v3 here.
Spike is here.
There's that Rolling Thunder. And the problem is, Lex, that Spike is in a brutal spot. They can't get anywhere near it. They can just squat on it here. And with 9 seconds left, they've got to go. They've got to go now. I don't think they're going to have time. Things went absolutely sideways there for Immortals, and Ambox take the round away.
What a wild outcome to what looked like a beautiful play call from Immortals. They basically step up to the plate at A main. The Cosmic Divide comes out. All they've done throughout this round is basically wait out this barrier orb at A main. And instead, Ambox, I believe they had to have had a game plan with how to retake A there, and just a quick A ramp, you know, being able to push into A ramp, deny all of that territory. No, hey, there's a spike too for our efforts. Well, 10 seconds left on the clock. Got a whole lot there for anyone Immortals to be able to do. Another buy will be coming out for them, so not all is lost. But yay, with a paddle sage right off the brink with a backup from Seb, means it's a 5-on-3 to start here on Split. That is a devastating push there from Ambox as Immortals just, did not suspect there'd be two.
No, and Lex, like that's icing on the cake, right? Like, if you push in that aggressively, well, oh my gosh, hang on. Mod is good for 2. Excellent spray transfer. Now I'll be able to get the 3rd. The spike is still down over on the back of the site. They weren't even playing for it as Ambox, excuse me, just stuff Immortals, and they don't have any room to work with. They aren't able to get anything going, and Ambox take the lead.
Man, Ambox is looking so good. Just the confidence from Ye with the backup from Seb. You know, I was just giving praise towards Immortals for their ability to trade well. Ambox is prepared for that second player to swing off contact, and Seb finds the second one. That's almost the more impressive frag to me at that point, considering Ye was catching JC standing caught unawares, but an early A push surely to come here from Immortals. All 5 players poised. There it is. Showstopper from Shot Up.
Oh, Seb! Seb's in a great spot. He reads that like a book, knows the showstopper is going to come flying across, hangs on to that 50, doesn't get challenged at all, and punishes it off the board. They didn't bring much as far as guns go into that round, but man, what an answer from Ambox. I know, Immortals they didn't really have rifles, but Ambox played that beautifully.
And that is Ye's 29th frag on the round. He finds, it was 3 in that round, but I'm really impressed by the ability of Ye and Seb over here at the A site, where no matter which kind of push they're up against, they seem to be playing together, you know, in sync with each other. I mean, that was almost Ye baiting out that showstopper, bunny hopping towards the back of the site, and Seb's just there, ready to bail him out. They just go back and forth each time. Fault line early on here over at B main means Vice finding the first on the Chemicals. That point does come out, so he'll be cleaned up immediately. Now it's 4 is all. We're dropping the dark cover, retreating back towards the B site. Orb gets collected by Gangsta, and the res should come out, and that's a beautiful play call here from Immortals.
It really is, but that's like Ambox are feeling themselves. You've got to be responsive here for Immortals, because the confidence with which Ambox are starting to play can be terrifying. Immortals have to step up here, and so far so good, right? They're finding themselves in a 5v2. This round certainly seems to be going their way, but I cannot stress the importance of the performance that was needed out of Immortals in this round specifically, especially because of how Ambox opened the round.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, and I think we saw shades of this in the first half when Immortals was on defense, where back and forth they went, showing aggression on both mains, being able to fight out mid. And Immortals, I think, has just been caught off balance a bit a few times in the past 2 or 3 prior rounds. And there they finally answer appropriately, where I think the first frag didn't even go their way, but their response to it, especially with JC standing over here today, just kind of solo locking things out.
Yep.
Kind of speaks to what you were getting at, Doug, where definitely you see the confidence from Ambox, how aggressively they're willing to take the fights to Immortals, where they haven't necessarily seemed ready for it. And here we are, 11-10 in round 22 of the game, where neither team, I mean, you just saw a bunch of utility come out from Immortals to make sure that this B main push is kosher, and now they've earned it. They've taken B main control. They're passively sitting outside A main. And this just kind of speaks to what we were getting at, where both of these teams are kind of playing this cat and mouse at the mains, where you show us aggression, we'll trade out efficiently with our utility and vice versa. Sometimes the players aren't even there to for the contest, or at least put up a fight.
Now, we haven't seen a ton of this, right? Where Immortals take the middle of the map. They're going to clear out anyone potentially playing in vents. There's still a tripwire there, so they know nobody's pushed their way through that. Ambox does it, so they know that that area is safe. Immortals pulling off and rotating back towards B, right into where Mata is with the showstopper.
30 seconds
but the
left.
thing is, yeah, Rossi has the Rolling Thunder. There it is. It's going to roll things out. The dash comes out. There's Mata with the showstopper waiting on the other side of the smoke. Not really able to see anything, but there it is. It doesn't land at all. It doesn't connect onto anything, but somehow, through that, Immortals still managed to walk away with the numbers advantage. Ye and Seb left alone.
10 seconds left.
The wall goes up. The spike goes down. And Lex, this does not look good.
No, it does not. Ooh. A nice snap headshot on a shot up from Seb. Seb and Ye, who have just had this dynamic duo. The chem between these two players cannot be stressed enough. Gangsta holds strong, though. That flashpoint from Breach forcing back Seb means an unlikely 1v3 for him. Immortals tying it all at 11. And I think, really, the penultimate moment there before that B exec even came through was Rossi catching two players in B with the Rolling Thunder. There's a 3-player stack there, and it didn't matter. Two of them effectively knocked out of the fight before it even started, and I'm really shocked that the showstopper from Mata, who basically ignores Chemicals, who had tailwinded into the back of sight. I think he threw out an updraft and was just not a target at all. Or the rocket just didn't hit anything. There may have been some damage, but I was expecting a 3K at that point. And early paint shells.
Here.
And it's not just the paint shells, right? It was the paint shell
Paired up with
in
Astra,
conjunction, yes, with the gravity wall. That's beautiful. Love to see some of that early synergy on the new agent. They start to try to cook something up. And again, why not, right? Like, how many times have you seen Ye go in, put the wall up, and then he either rides it or backs off? A great bit of early damage used there, or excuse me, applied there to try to give them an advantage in this ever-important round, tied up 11-11 here, as Immortals try to find their way in towards the site. Again, you've got trap wires in the vents going towards A. You've got something going in towards A, B heaven as well. They've given them the middle of the map, but that's because they know they can't go anywhere else without them knowing.
Yeah, I think this really just comes down to if Immortals decides to bide their time, you know, stay spread for the next 10 or 15 seconds before mounting. This may be an A split, actually, from the looks of it.
I think it is. And they've got the Cosmic Divide.
Does Anbox get the rotations right here in this moment? Because they just walled into B.
30 seconds left.
Trying to draw that rotation over, and actually, as I say that, Vice, second guessing himself, comes back towards A. Heaven and Ye holds fast at top of A ramp. Chemicals finds both. So now this is a 4-on-3 retake for Anbox.
And JC Staney was the only casualty in that situation. Well played by Immortals. They're going to get the spike down just in the nick of time. And I like this from Chemicals, right? Like going in aggressively, taking away more space where the defenders could be coming in from, but he's going to get paranoid, and it doesn't matter. Chemicals gets the best of him anyway. Shot up good for another one as well. Tees it up with the second. Immortals at map point.
Yeah, and that's a huge round from Chemicals, finding the entries up towards the top of A ramp and A heaven. You know, each of those players was in a pretty dominant position to stop not only his push, but his teammates as well. And that rope split, as I mentioned, there's a very soft fake from Gangsta over there at B main. It was just enough to make Vice step out of position, and that's all that really mattered. You know, once you had given up your rope angles, there was just no way you're going to defend that and save Ye in the same, 5-second span. And instead of potentially shutting it all down and using that utility to make sure that not only does his teammate live, but you delay that push just a moment or two longer for the rotates to come in. Instead, now Immortals 12-11, as you said, on map point. And they've been playing this kind of patient attack side on split here for every round of this half, seemingly. But, you know, the few fast pushes that they've thrown out there, Andbox have handled them so well. It's no wonder that they've defaulted almost back towards this slow, methodical regroup towards a site style. And they take this early vent and rope control, and that is, as again, just kind of manipulating the rotations from Andbox, but nothing of it yet.
Just enough to make them think about it, right? Like what we just saw in the previous round, Astra was still playing towards A as well, so it's just enough to make them think about it. But their intentions are to work their way towards B. You see Chemicals is still playing over around the middle of the map. They're going to work their way into 3 members of Andbox that are playing on B site. The problem is they're light on armor. They don't all have armor. There's the Cosmic Divide coming as well. Shot up going in with the Showstopper. Lands good for 1. Numbers advantage. Really not going any which way. As a couple of kills are coming out for Immortals, they might be able to put this thing away right here, right now. Vice with just 9 health. Looking to do something. Seb is healthy as well. Vice drops. Seb left alone in a 1v3. A Blade Storm on the other side as well. Seb, what kind of magic do you have in you? What can you whip up? There's that high-low stack in the corner as well, and you don't even get to see the devastating effects of the high-low, as it doesn't matter. He gets cleaned up. An excellent first map out of Immortals.
Yeah, and I think there was 2 or 3 different times where Andbox looked to be in the driver's seat. They definitely looked like, you know, potentially they're going to take map 1, or at least put Immortals into a very uncomfortable deficit. And, you know, frequently you'll kind of see these teams where, you know, you lose a clutch, you lose a 2v2. These things happen. You can just be unlucky in some ways. But Immortals was decisively winning these rounds where, you know, Andbox did not look at any point like they were the weak or the underdog team. You know, there was a lot of fight even in that last round where I think Immortals ultimately just made some better reads on attack.
Well, and remember, Lex, like there was that round, I think it was 11-9, where we explicitly said Immortals have to respond. Right, like Andbox was starting to play. They were probably starting to play a little swagger, right? They were playing a bit more loose. They were playing a bit more aggressively, and you saw Vice with the fault line pushing his way into Garage. They swung out with that, caught a couple of members of Immortals with their proverbial pants down, where there was really nothing they could do. And it's in that moment, like you can read it, right? Andbox smell blood in the water. Immortals have to respond, and freaking A, did they respond?
Absolutely. The fact is, 13-11. Scoreline here on split, and I think both halves, Andbox was you know, staying on par with the elite level I think that we expect out of Immortals at this point. And
yeah,
going into map 2, I described Descent as kind of being the decider map of this series, Doug. Well, if this map had gone the other way and Immortals didn't win it, you know, you'd potentially be looking at 3 maps in the series. But I really think, you know, this is Immortals' comfy map pick here on Ascent coming up.
The safe thing about saying that the second map in a best of 3 could be the decider is that you're technically never wrong. Well, folks, we're going to cut to a very quick break. When we return, map 2 between these 2 juggernaut North American squads. Don't go anywhere.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.